So today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and a lot of people are happy because these changes are taking place in the country to at last celebrate the contributions of the Native American people in the United States. How does it make you feel?
I think it's been a long time coming. I think when you consider the history of the United States, you should be considering the contributions of the cultures that have been here in the Americas for thousands of years. And so when you see the marginalization of our culture for decades prior to this point, when we finally get to where we are now, where we can have these conversations, where people want to know perhaps a little bit more, and not only that, but recognize that we are part of our collective American history. I think it's very exciting. It's great to see. We still have a long ways to go in terms of social and racial justice in this country, but every step forward is a little bit more towards the goal, right?
Now, there's still some stigma around the culture of Native American people. What do you think should be done to stop those stigmas?
Education is kind of the key. A lot of our history has been left out of the history books, especially regional history. There were so many different tribes all throughout the country. Each one played their own part in those regions, but nobody's talking about it. Significant events that have happened, what treaty rights are, what our relationship with the states and with the federal is. Those are things that should have been talked about from elementary school up to higher education. And so now, here we are now, and the best that we can do is at least recognize where we have failed in explaining the context of that history, and then hopefully start implementing better curriculum that just simply educates and removes some of those stereotypes, some of those stigmas, and helps people understand that we are still here. We're an evolving culture. We've grown and changed just like the history of the United States has, and we've had to adapt.
How does it make you feel when you hear that the president is trying to integrate the Native community into what we are as a culture in this country?
Presidents and administrations in the past that have recognized American Indian contributions, but haven't taken the steps to formalize it like President Biden has. He's the first president ever to acknowledge formally Indigenous Peoples Day. And so we're very grateful for that. If representation is a measure of political power, then we're excited to see finally Native American representatives in the House and in the administration who understand our communities. They're from our communities. They understand the challenges, and they're willing to push a dialogue that will confront some of the resistance that prejudice or even blatant racism plays. So we're excited to see that.
What do you think that the community here, or certain communities in the United States, determined that to make these changes in the country is kind of a cancel culture of something that we have been used to hear and learn in schools, and they just have a negative perspective of what is becoming the new reality of the new era of inclusivity?
I think as we learned about the history and context of Columbus, how he actually got here, he probably wasn't the first one, but just all the atrocities, it wasn't something to be celebrated. I actually feel for the cultures that claim him, because he had accomplished something in their name, and it was something that should have been a point of pride, but everything else necessarily needed to be canceled. And so the converse side is to not only educate about all the atrocities that him and his men committed, the genocide that they committed, and introduced to this country, but to shine a light conversely on the strength and beauty of Indigenous cultures. I think it's great. There's nothing canceling about that. You're just simply replacing something pretty terrible and pretty awful with something better.
what would you like to say to the Native Americans in Connecticut and to all the people that are embracing this day?
I think to the Native people in Connecticut, continue being who you are, embrace and be proud of your culture. We are all a collective part of American history, and our contributions are fantastic. Whatever tribe we are, we have a lot of mutual issues that we're all addressing, and I'm just proud of who we are and our contributions to American history.
Thank you so much for joining me today and taking this time to speak with Boceto Media on all the audience in Connecticut. And I hope we can talk further next time.